استنتهتك سر السراب وجدته حلم الرمال الهاجعات على الظما. The mirage is formed out of the dreams of thirsty sands. As my eyes turned back, and when the ruins of the camp were no longer visible, my heart turned back.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, like other countries in the Middle East, is in a process of rapid change, moving with the times, realizing new opportunities. In the midst of these changes, the people of the kingdom retain a traditional way of life. This contrast between the old and the new underlies everything that is taking place in Saudi Arabia today. By now, the Saudis can see the results of modern development on a national scale. In the provinces as well as major cities, the pace of work is continuous. Building sites everywhere reflect the program's enormous energy. Barely a generation into extensive improvements, parts of the kingdom are transformed beyond recognition. Saudi Arabia, however, is still a developing country. It will take years to finalize basic industries, to train a domestic labor force to operate them. Meanwhile, the nation will depend for some time to come on foreign sources of manpower, food, and machinery of all kinds. These vital goods are distributed to all parts of the kingdom. A few years ago, the ports could not handle the massive shipments arriving in the country. Now, new berths and container docks keep the cargo moving. To say what this means for the estimated 7 million people of the kingdom, Dr. Ghazi Al-Ghusaybi, Saudi cabinet minister and poet.
What is the meaning of development? Now, development to foreign companies means contracts and profits. To sociologists, it means the process of social change. To poets even, it might indicate the passing of a golden age of innocence, but to the average man, development does not mean these things. Development means a house, which he has not had before, school for his children, clinic, road linking his village with the outside world, television set, radio. I think throughout history, people did not develop in a rapid way, not because this was the most logical thing, but simply because they lacked the means to do it. Now here we have a situation in which you have at your disposal huge resources available for a short span of history, but they are going to go away, like the genie with the 3 wishes. You squander these 3 wishes, you'll go back from where you started.
The Saudis are building a new base for a more self-sufficient national economy. Underway at Jubail, on the Arabian Gulf in the east, a vast industrial park. Based on the oil wealth of the nation, Jubail is the cornerstone of the industrialization program. Here, the oil industry will yet again serve as a training ground for the nation's manpower. On the map, a new landmark at the edge of an empty landscape. the sands of Rub' al-Khali, the empty quarter. 80% of the landscape between the Red Sea and the Arabian Gulf is covered with sand. The desert is a survival ecology. The thorn bush adapts to the desert, the camel to the thorn bush. The Bedouin, their historic endurance in the desert has produced the leadership of Saudi Arabia. A tribal background unites the many princes of the royal family with the people. Prince Saud bin Abdul Muhsin, one of the grandsons of King Abdul Aziz, greeting Prince Majid, newly appointed governor of Mecca province. Monarchy in Saudi Arabia is not a remote form of government. There is direct contact between ruler and ruled. A traditional and still vital form of this contact is the Majlis, an open audience held daily by Saudi leaders across the country. Prince Saud bin Abdul Muhsin.
The Majlis is one of its main rules, is that you have no guards to keep people out. You have some people to keep people in order. But a Majlis in Saudi Arabia, which is practiced by the highest official in the kingdom, which is the king and the crown prince, and it takes place in every province of the kingdom every day by the governors of those provinces, and nobody is stopped and nobody is given any preference whether he has a special position as far as society, socially or economically. So it's an open sitting time, if you want to call it, where everybody can come and sit and present whatever they have to the governor or the man in charge. The originator and the creator of Saudi Arabia, who's King Abdulaziz, known to the Western people as Ibn Saud, had a majlis every day where people come, and he will have the judges right next to him, and grievances would have been taken care of on the spot.
نحن بل يوم انقسم بالله إن 3 سنين انحرب ولا اللي ماتوا من اخوياي وانا ورع هذاك الحين ولد.
In the presence of princes, people are not afraid to speak their minds. A man seeking compensation for an old injury. Although the form of the Majlis is changing, direct and close contact with the people continues. Princes of the royal family spend their leisure time in the desert, receiving tribal chiefs, falcon hunting, exchanging stories.
العدال هي بقاد بل بالنو بهار من جود ربي ما نحس بالخسارة والباب خله لا تصك على الجار ترى طرت الجار يعطوه قارة.
To the Saudi Arab, the language is a form of art.
شفي وشفك انت شابك نواره.
No leader in this country can get a shepherd and tell him, well, your rights are so and so, our rights as leaders is this. The shepherd knows his right. And nobody is going to tell him anything else because he knows it, he's been born there, and he knows what is my right and what is your right. I respect you as long as you respect my rights. But then I'll go to the law, and the law is Allah's law.
Especially at a time of rapid change in their lives, it is the law of Allah that binds the kingdom's people together. In the midst of these changes, Islamic values endure. The Muslim calendar dates from the Hijrah, the year Muhammad fled to Medina from Mecca. Islam is now beginning its 15th century. In mosques, large and small, people assemble for prayer 5 times a day. Where there are no mosques, people pray in the open air. Each year, more than 1 million pilgrims come to the kingdom from all parts of the globe. The Hajj, or pilgrimage, one of the 5 fundamental tenets of the Islamic faith. The holy Kaaba at Mecca at Hajj time, the largest gathering of people in the world. As well as a religion, Islam is a practical way of life. Its spiritual disciplines are reflected in its arts and in everyday modes of dress. Inspired by the Islamic sense of the community, known as the Ummah Islamiyya, a special public order prevails. Large sums of money are handled openly in the souk. Asked if his business is safe, a money changer replies, "Why shouldn't it be?" The souk, or open market, is found all across the country. In Riyadh, the section of the marketplace reserved for traditional wear. Several times a day, business stops, shops close, and the souk takes part in the ritual of prayer. The mutawwa oversees the closing of the souk at prayer time. A simple cloth or thin net stretched across a shop front serves notice. The souk is closed. High in the mountains of the Asir province in the southwest, a mild climate with a seasonal rainfall. Handed down from generation to generation, privately owned fields of the Asir are small, unsuited to large-scale agricultural development. Arid conditions more typical of the kingdom. The Tihama lowlands, a coastal plain along the Red Sea. Here, local wells supply the larger farm communities. The regional dress and houses resemble those of nearby East Africa. Equipment subsidized by the government reaches private farmers. Large tracts of land are cultivated by machine rather than by hand. Across the peninsula in the eastern province, Al-Hassa Oasis, the largest in the kingdom. Reservoirs, vast but eventually depletable, lie beneath the entire province. Once limited to date production, Al-Hassa is now a testing ground for large and more efficient agricultural projects. One experimental farm in the area, a drained swampland, proof that the poorest land in the kingdom can yield abundant crops. In Al-Hassa, manual labor is giving way to machine methods. In farming, more than in any other sector of the economy, new systems are raising productivity.
Here in this project, where the area is 10,000 acres, there is extensive use of very large machinery, basically to reduce the manpower requirement and also to minimize the cost of production. We also look at this project as a testing ground for agricultural systems, where hopefully it could be duplicated in other parts of the country, and where quite a lot of young Saudis could be trained and assume management responsibilities of other projects that are coming up in the country. Hopefully it is a reflection of the country's ability to grow stable foods such as fodder for meat production, such as alfalfa and roasted grass, Sudan grass, and make the maximum use of resources and land with minimum manpower, which is basically the conditions that prevail in Saudi Arabia.
Today, modern roads link all parts of the kingdom. Rural populations, newly mobile, turn to cities. A traditional service, public scribes, slowly disappearing from the streets of the kingdom. A letter addressed to the Ministry of Water Resources. To cope with the kingdom's manpower problem, a massive education program is underway. King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah, one of 6 in the country. Students of all ages are involved in modern educational programs. A quarter of the population of Saudi Arabia is enrolled in schools. A generation ago, a familiarity with the world was not an urgent matter. True knowledge came only from the Quran. A geography class at the Al-Falah school in Jeddah. Al-Mamlaka Al-Arabiyya Saudiya, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Today's lesson, the major provinces. Instructed at home in the past, girls in Saudi Arabia now attend both public and private schools. Along with newer subjects, religious studies are required. But secular education now fills an increasing part of the curriculum. At an experimental comprehensive school, a progressive system, tested on a group of advanced students, a possible model for the system in the future.
This is about Pablo Picasso. He was born in Spain, and this is a book about his life and his paintings and all that.
When we opened elementary school, there wasn't any other elementary school. When we opened the junior high school, it was the only junior high school, and later on, other schools followed and public education opened.
Don't put a lot of blue here, please.
The Dar al-Hanan school in Jeddah. Cecile Rushdie, director of the first school for girls in the kingdom.
We started senior school, and for about 6 or 7 years, we were the only senior school in the kingdom. And we had masses of girls graduating, and it is due to these girls that graduated in the first years that we had the universities open for women in Saudi Arabia. And now that we have the university well established for regular education and liberal arts, we have thought of developing more towards vocational education alongside with our regular education.
شايفين كيف احتراق المغنيسيوم؟
The Saudi women of the future, normally unseen by outsiders. When they leave school in the afternoon, their faces, like most Saudi women in public, will be veiled. King Faisal Specialist Hospital in Riyadh, one of the most technically advanced medical centers in the world. Patients are referred here from other hospitals around the kingdom. Staff is still predominantly foreign, representing many nationalities.
Now we're going to close the external black fascia. We'll put the nerve back down. Now I have some 306.
An operation assisted by Saudi residents, the kingdom's future surgeons.
Finishing a suture, be sure to cut that, please, and put a hemostat on that. Fareed, why don't you test that also? That's good. Okay.
Today, there are over 1,000 Saudi doctors in training, at home and abroad. Numerous others are already in practice, including many women. On the outskirts of Riyadh, building lots are scarce and expensive. Along with education, housing is perhaps the greatest success of the recent 5-year plan. It continues to involve a large percentage of the workforce, foreign and domestic. No longer considered an unnatural height by modern apartment hunters, high-rise dwellings are found in increasing numbers. The amenities of community planning. In Riyadh, the capital, in Jeddah. The Corniche area reached easily by the Saudi commuter. Suburbia has arrived in Arabia. Modernization in Saudi Arabia often serves the needs of the national heritage. Modern technology is used even in traditional pastimes. An annual occasion beamed across the nation. The final event of the racing season. Sponsored by His Majesty the King. The big race in the desert outside Riyadh.
أيها المشاهدون، أرى صاحب السمو الملكي الأمير بندر بن فهد بن سعد وقد نزل إلى أرض الميدان.
Across 22 kilometers of open desert, more than 2,000 camels, riders from all over the kingdom. A spectacular event for the National Guard and the audience across the nation.
أن أنقل رقمها وسأوافيكم بالرقم بعد وصولها إلى نقطة النهاية إن شاء الله.
Watched by the royal family, Crown Prince Fahd, Prince Abdullah and Sheikh Zayed of Abu Dhabi, the guest of Khalid bin Abdulaziz, the King of Saudi Arabia.
سمو الملكي الأمير فيصل بن خليفة بن عبد العزيز.
The king will present the trophy to the winning rider, 10 years old. Development in Saudi Arabia is being superimposed on an intact culture. The challenges are great to balance the demands of modernization with the enduring values of Islam, to find the men and women who will maintain the nation's progress.
80% of Saudi pilots are Saudis, but remember, we're still buying airplanes. Saudi is still buying airplanes, and we still need more people.
We have a computer center for the girls where they can learn how to become computer workers, data processors, and so on. And at the same time, after they graduate, they can become the functionaries of the center. Meaning, if I can't send a girl to work in an office where there are men, at least I can bring the work in and let her process it. So we're keeping our traditions, we're keeping our religion, but at the same time, we're opening new fields for work for women.
There has never been any culture in the world or any people in the world that had the capabilities in such a short time, in their lives as we did here. And I think now we are beginning to fall back. We are beginning to go back and try to get a meaning, to get the old meaning in our lives more than what you can attain by just actual material gains.
If people in the long run do not like what goes on, they will not support it, whether in the political fields or in the economic field or in any other field. And this is the acid test of any human endeavor, its responsiveness to human needs. So maybe in a way what we are doing is experimental. If it doesn't work, it will not go through. It couldn't go through. Development is rapid because people need it this way. تريدين لون حنيني إليك إذا طالع الشمس عند المغيب تريدين طعم حنيني إليك إذا لامسي بيديك اللهيب The color of my love, consult the sunset. The taste, touch flame. And sighs, attempt the universe.